as a veteran small business owner, what can we do for you?
What we can all do for all veteran business owners is promote each other.
My main mission was to look at tools of technology to leverage small business and give them more of a competitive advantage.
My mission for Veteran Bargains is very simple: to help vets.
That story in itself, to run for Vista City Council, is a journey.
I think this is an opportunity to really collaborate with those gone before us.
It's really kind of a labor of love.
And now your host.
Happy Friday. Thank you for joining us once again at this Veterans Radio Show and Podcast. I'm your host, Laura Torres. Welcome back to one more episode where we'll bring you phenomenal guests, veterans, military spouses, community leaders who are making it happen, supporting our community, making real action for our veteran and overall community in general. On this particular case, I just want to remind you to please subscribe, share your love, share your support. This Veteran Chamber of Commerce is radio host episode is brought to you by our Veteran Chamber of Commerce. And without you, your support, we will not be able to bring you amazing guests. Now, I do want to also put in out there a plug-in to take a look at any company, organization, and institution, and you will find a veteran, a military spouse, a leader really making it happen. And really, that's what the conversation is all about. It's about talking to Mark Ledlow and discussing a little bit better about his trajectory in the military, his success in business, and also best tips and tricks that he can share with our audience. So those of you who are watching on Facebook, YouTube, Amazon Live, and of course, our podcast listeners, we appreciate your service, your support, and of course, everything that you have to do it, your tags, your comments. We welcome your questions as well. So let's hit that subscribe button. And without further ado, let's go straight to Mark and welcome him to the show. Mark, welcome to the show.
Hey, Laura, thanks for having me on. I appreciate your time and your generosity of your time to have me on. I know there's a lot of work you guys are doing behind the scenes there.
Absolutely. Thank you. And then if I look away, I'm just making sure that we are actually on our live audience, and we'll bring in any comments towards the end. But I do want to just introduce you overall, and just to give you a nice warm welcome, because you are a Marine Corps veteran, you the owner of Ledlow Security Group, and of course you have a podcast which you call your podcast Fearless Mindset Podcast, where you talk tips and tricks for our military community about financial and security and all kinds of other great advice. So your mission, it's a great mission that we are here to support. You're driven, and you, of course, you're aggressive in a good sense, of course, 10,000 veterans to find employment. We want to know more about that. So tell us about your military experience and how that shaped up your business mindset.
That's a good question, Laura. When I was in the Marine Corps, I kicked myself back when I was 22, 3 years old, going through boot camp in the Marine Corps. I had no idea at that given time, that miserable 3-month period of boot camp, that I would be running and partnering in a security firm. And, later on in my career, my life, I had no idea, because being a Marine, then you're just worried about your meal per day and just getting destroyed by your drill instructor in boot camp. And that's your biggest concern. But you don't realize those moments with your drill instructors are the building blocks of mental success down the road. You just don't get that. You don't see that until later on in your career in your life. And if I could take one thing from the Marine Corps taught me for success in business, it would be tenacity, discipline, persistence. And in business, you have a lot of rejection. In business, you get told no a lot, not interested. And because I went from the Marine Corps, my dad told me not to do it because he didn't think I could make it. And he was a Vietnam vet. And his rack was he didn't have a rack. He had a bed on a ship. Because why would you want to go in the Marine Corps when you sleep on a dirty ground? You have no shelter. At least with the Navy, you have a dry bed and you get 3 meals a day to get a shower. So why would you want to do the Marine Corps? And I didn't know in my mind, but at that time I was thinking 20 years down the road in my life, I wanted the title. I wanted that title so bad. I was willing to, put myself through pain and agony and literally hell for 3 months to get that title, to earn that title. And in business, the same way. You have to earn the respect of industry colleagues in the industry. And so there's so many correlations from foundations of boot camp in the Marine Corps to business. There, the mental mindset is 90% of it in business, because most businesses that start fail in the first 2 years. Why? They don't have the right mental mindset, or they don't have the right capital. And so there's so many correlations and so many doors that do open because I serve in the military, and decision makers I run into in different organizations that were also military vets. They go, "Oh, you're a Marine. Come on in. I'll give you a meeting." And for example, Gina L. Osborne, who's a retired FBI agent, leading Like a Lady podcast, she said, "Well, because my dad was a Marine, I had to come on your show." I'm like, "Oh, thank you. I'm honored." So
That's amazing.
it opens up so many doors.
Absolutely. And definitely, I mean, it does open up a lot of doors, because you're now more accustomed to the hard work. And like you said, you knew you wanted to earn that title. You had that in your mind, and you were not going to stop until you had, and you walk away with your title. Now, in your early experience in business, your military experience, how did that help you shape up a little bit more and give you more clarity in pursuing the right mindset that you needed in order for you to achieve what you have successfully been able to?
Well, that's a good question, because I didn't know I had an entrepreneur brain in me. I was going to go SWAT, become a cop. That's where my initial goal was. And when I was in the Marine Reserves, I was in law enforcement in Oregon. I worked juvenile corrections, and I was taking the track. I was going to school, and during the school time, working towards my degree in criminology, and then being a on-call juvenile corrections officer, and then being a reserve police officer, I was going through many different journeys and doing multiple projects. And I'm like, I'm just going through the journey. I was just going through the process of becoming a cop. That was the goal initially. And then I'm like, you know what type of lifestyle do I want to live? How do I want to live? And then all of a sudden in my mind, like, why not have your own successful security firm? And I'm like, how do I do that? And so at night, when I was working in the jail in the control booth, I was like online looking at bodyguards in Los Angeles. And then when I got ready to graduate from college, I'm like, okay, maybe I'll move to Southern California. But everybody that I know in Southern Oregon that lives here are from California. So everybody's trying to talk me out of that crazy idea of moving to Southern California. And in a way, the culture shock of going to boot camp in the Marine Corps was significant or equal to that of moving to Los Angeles, California, and starting a new career in private sector security. It was scary. It petrified me, and the traffic didn't make it any easier.
Of course. So probably the last few months, right, you have in a way sort of enjoyed that there's been less traffic, so they say, for us, right?
Yeah, the last few months, COVID-19 hit, and I usually go to business conferences, and I go do these business conferences to network, do business development. But I learned actually business networking when I worked corporate America. When I got my degree and left college, I kind of got tired, I guess, of law enforcement, military. So I went in the corporate world. I worked in corporate America for about 10 years. I was in business development for Chase Bank, which formerly WAMU, and I was in charge of merchant services regionally for 30 branches. And I had to learn networking, business development, people skills, soft skills, things they don't teach you in the Marine Corps. And so I had to learn all that stuff in corporate America. And you have numbers you got to hit. You have to hit quotas every month. If you don't, you get fired. That's just how it works. If you don't produce, you don't keep your job. And those little skills and those experiences of having different jobs like telecommunications, I had a job with Sprint PCS, and the guy before me was the number one producer in the region with another carrier. And he was the number one producer, but he was my predecessor, and he was fired, but he was the number one producer with another carrier, and I got fired. I told the vice president, like, how is it that you hired me for the same position with the same expectations, and the guy for another carrier was the number one producer, but I come in his position, he failed, and I fell. And I told him, you have set up this position for failure from the very beginning. It's not fair to anybody coming behind me. And then they got bought out. But you learn through those experiences. You learn rejection, you learn cold calling, and stuff that a lot of the younger generation, they have no concept of. And then can you imagine being a 20-year vet coming out of service and then going to corporate America? They don't teach you that stuff in military. They don't teach you anything about business development. So I had to learn by trial and error, by baptism of fire, as they say. And it was scary, but it gave me the skill sets I needed to help run a business.
Now, talking about challenges, scary, processes, and then of course, being setting up for failure, especially as a startup, we all face at one point or another all those challenges and things that perhaps might make you want to think about it. Maybe as give yourself like a detour and say, never mind. But what sort of challenges did you face as an early startup, and how did you overcome those? What helped you?
Knowing who you can trust. Because in failures, most time in business, it's going to be business partners or people that don't like you in business that try to take you out. And trust is a huge thing, especially in the security industry. Knowing who you can trust and having mentors and coaches, somebody that you can look up to that as a mentor to you, making the right decision, because typically they've seen what you've gone through. They've been through it, and they can offer you sound business advice that can save you years of pain and financial suffering if you learn from from walking in through their shoes in their journey in owning a business. So that's what I've taken away, is being open to mentorship and coaching. When I deal with a lot of these young guys and girls, they think they can do it without help. They want to show everybody in the world they can do it without help. But the chances are, look at Michael Jordan. How many times did he fail before he become a 6-time world champion, and with the help of Phil Knight and his teammates? You're going to fail. Absolutely. And you have to be aware of failure. But what I see in the security thing is, I see more than anything is egos. I see a lot of guys with egos, and that's often the biggest self-destructor is the ego.
Absolutely. Yes. And talking about mentorship, at some point or another, you're right. We all need that mentor, that like warm contact, or someone who can really put that clarity and help us navigate a little bit better the process. Now, in your case, what would you tell your younger self, what you know now that you didn't know perhaps when you were first starting, or maybe through your military life experience?
Instead of defending an idea, listen to the idea. Become the greatest listener, become the greatest student of your craft. Because often I find too many people are trying to defend themselves because they feel like they're being attacked. If I can tell my little self, my ego back then, if I can become the best listener, because the best listeners are typically the best leaders you have in different organizations. And even John Maxwell teaches that in leadership. And if I can teach anything, just be humble. Be more humble, kick the arrogance aside. I'll admit I was an arrogant Marine. I had a chip on my shoulder, and that U.S. Marine, the thing on my chest, but like being a cop with a badge is useless if you don't know how to use that tool correctly. And for me, it was just checking the ego and getting over myself. The biggest adversary you have, like Apollo Creed in the movie, is Sylvester Stallone. So the biggest enemy you have right there is that guy looking you in the mirror. You have to get around him, under him, over him, and then you'll have victory. That's the same thing in business. Your biggest adversary is yourself most of the time.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for those insightful tips. And let me just take a quick pause to recap. And so for those of you who are watching and joining us right now, halfway through, we are here talking to Mark Ledlow, who is a Marine Corps veteran, owner of Ledlow Security Group. And he's also the host of the Fearless Mindset podcast. So make sure that you follow. We're going to put on those links for you to follow as well. And he has a mission, and we're so excited here to share with him and contribute to this aggressive going of Ledlow Security Group, who is looking to employ 10,000 veterans, find employment. One way or another, we're here to support as well. And the Fearless Mindset, of course, is a platform to inspire, educate, and motivate our military families. So make sure that you connect with him and you are supporting our initiatives here as well. So Mark, tell us about this 10,000 veteran find meaningful work. How are you doing this, and what can we do to help?
Well, it's just creating the platform, the Fearless Mindset. With that platform, I've been able to have industry leaders in the security industry, from Michael Trott, former CIA, to James Hamilton, former FBI, to many, many, many others, Navy SEALs, to even Frank Mir, UFC 2-time world heavyweight champion, on the show, just to talk about their adversity, things they struggle with. And in a way, it's a show of mentorship to veterans that are looking for inspiration, motivation, and hope on what's the next transition. Where do I go to next? I'm out out of the military. I just got discharged. What do I do next? Do I become a bodyguard? Okay, what schools is it recommended? Because there's thousands of bodyguard schools out there, and it's more like, it's like you said, educational, motivate, and that's kind of the platform. And then with that platform, I'm gonna drive traffic to different schools. I'll have probably trainers from different schools come on the show to give guidance to those vets that are looking for guidance and they want a teacher. And once you become a teacher, as they say, the students will follow. And so there's a lot of capable veterans out there. They're great instructors in different schools, and they have gifts for that. And there's actually a lot of help out there, and that's one of the biggest reasons why I launched it, to give that hope, give that inspiration, and give people options after they get out of the military.
Absolutely. And you're right. I mean, that is definitely key, especially when you are transitioning after the military. It's important, three things that you said very important is to understand and know your mindset, get some clarity, and then find a mentor like yourself or someone within your business mindset, or just simply in general to guide you to find out better what your future career opportunities or your business might be like. And then, connect and find those groups, kind of like the one that you have at the Fearless Mindset podcast, or those other groups where you are able to then connect to those that think like you, or perhaps can help you navigate that process. I think that's wonderful what you're doing for our community. And, here at the Veteran Chamber of Commerce, we are definitely glad that you are part of our community and that you're supporting our veterans and our military spouses and family members. So what's next for you then? How can our community support you in general? And how can we reach you? So 3 questions all in one. So what's next for you?
What's next for me is I'm going to probably be doing some more training through the podcast. As the podcast continues to grow, I think we just hit 5,000 downloads in less than a year. And listen, yeah, thank you. It's because of the guest. That's why we're there, because of the guest. So kudos to them and give them credit. And Listen Notes has us ranked in the top 10 in the world. And so I didn't see that coming, to be honest with you. But what's next is I just want to be a server of people, server of our vets and our military community. And if that makes me become more of a teacher than guy out in the field, I'm looking forward to that moment. And I'm looking forward to some new partnerships. I'm open to, some, partnerships with sponsors. And more than anything, I like watching new leaders rise up, because the best leaders mentor and coach new leaders. And that's, I think that's the best way to, transform our corporate culture of, they say that we can't find anybody to work. Well, if you incentivize these veterans that are out there, some of the best, the best employers out there are veterans, and there's also a lot of civilians out there that are very capable too. And I think the new Generation X, they have a lot of talents. They're very smart people. They understand technology like no other. And if I can give any advice, I would, a lot of these younger generations, they don't understand the value of networking, which means go to conferences, spending money out of your pocket. Yeah, you may not get, recompensated right now for that, but conferences, leadership conferences, I usually go to John Maxwell conference a year, and I usually go to security conferences at least 3 times a year. That is where you're going to create those relationships. That's where you're going to create the trust and those bonds and friendships. You can't really do that when you're working on a detail for a client, because you're in work mode, like Secret Service is the president. You can't really be handing out business cards when you're working, because you're watching that guy and you got his back. But when you go to conferences, like in Vegas, there's many conferences, has different conferences, but leadership conferences and stuff like that. That's where I'd be plugging in, as they say, iron sharpen iron. And that's kind of what you got to do. You got to change the way you think to be successful in the business world. And that's what I had to do for myself in the corporate world.
Well, thank you so much for all of this great insightful tips. And then we'd love to be able to, continue to partner up and find ways that you can partner up with the chamber. And actually, our founder and CEO is here in the back, and I'm going to bring him back in so that he can talk to us, and greet you. And we'd love to be able to talk a little bit more about ways that you can partner up with the chamber. And so he's here. Hi, Joe. How are you? Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Laura. And thank you for the great interview. It's a great pleasure to have you today. It's been nice. I love the energy of the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura, for having me on. Yeah, appreciate it.
And it seems like you are really involved with your podcast, and we always love to share, collaborate, and push and support other people, who are supporting our veterans in whatever shape or form. So always happy to support, always happy to help, always happy to collaborate. And that's kind of our mantra, right, Laura? Yeah, we want to.
Absolutely. We're all one here, and we're all a family.
That's right. So that's kind of the culture that we have is because I agree with you. The ego is our worst enemy. So we want to collaborate. We want to support those things that are those programs, projects that are on development. One of the things I wanted to ask you, and for the audience to hear, is that I know in our, as a Chamber of Commerce, one of the areas that we focus is employment, but another area that we focus is on entrepreneurship. So when someone comes out of the military and they are thinking about setting up their own security guard company, their own bodyguard company, their own executive protection, we help them on the business side of the house on how to set up the entity. The other part, which is licenses and tear gas and weapons, that goes somewhere else. There's colleges and schools like that. So that's one of the things that I was kind of thinking as I was hearing you talk, is like, this would be a great partnership for the both of us if we prepare people or veterans that come from you, that come from us, wherever they come from, set them up as a business entity, and then give them to you so they can go and get their licenses, their weapon license, the tear gas license, all those things that are legal requirements. But from the business perspective, the setup, the promotion, the financing, the business plan creation, I think that'd be a beautiful partnership.
Yeah, I would agree. There's like you said, when they get out of the military, it gives them purpose when they get out. Because the biggest thing I struggled with when I got in the Marine Corps was the culture shock. Going from military to corporate America, it was just like, what the heck happened? It's like,
right.
The guys that are my bosses, they're not leaders. They're out there. They're dictators.
That's
and
right.
It took me about 2 years to adjust,
right.
because I'd actually get in arguments with my bosses because they're incompetent in their position. And that's one thing the Marine Corps teaches you, competency. That's how you get promoted in rank. And corporate
That's
America
right.
is political power moving, it's maneuvering. It's like the house of cards. And it's just, that's what I struggled with for about 2 to 3 years. And then when I went back in corporate security, I'm like, okay, I'm home now because I'm with my brotherhood from the military.
Right.
I'm back with my family. I understood the language. I understood the culture there, and it seemed to be like easy for me. But you're right. We need to partner with veterans when they get out, because the first thing in California, you have to get a guard card,
Right.
and once you get that guard card, you can work for any company you want. But to be employed as a security company owner, you have to get a California PPO, which is issued by the BSIS of California. That's the Bureau of Security Investigative Services in California, and they're the regulatory organization of California. They keep everybody in check and make sure they all behave.
And that's correct. And the good thing, California has restrictions, but every state is different. So we are a nationwide organization. So the people that will be coming into these sessions, and that's something that you and I can, and with Laura and everybody, can get together and brainstorm to start setting up this do your own security company. Because besides just having a security guard company or executive services company, you also know that there is the procurement side of the house on the private sector and on the government sector, which we help them with that as well. So working on that component of the business side of it will be extremely beneficial. So I just wanted to come in and thank you, because what you were talking about earlier about the motivation stuff is very important. And to resonate one more thing before I go, Laura, sorry taking your time, but when you said about the reconnect or the culture shock, we in our world, we call that, before we get out, we feel we're Captain America. So that's a Captain America syndrome. Before we leave the gate, we can do anything. There's nothing we cannot do.
Right.
And then the moment we pass, it's about 90 days. The culture shock sinks in. We feel the cold water. We feel that we're not connected anymore. And then it starts a domino effect that goes from physical situations to emotional and mental situations. So that part of the transition, that's something that we are very keen on and we understand. I went through it. You went through it. I thought I was the only one going through it. But now, after the chamber, I realized, oh my gosh, this is almost everybody. Now, if you go into military to police or anything like that is similar, yeah, it doesn't feel like that. But if you go from a sniper approach into writing a book, that may be different. Or become a teacher, or become a barista. Those changes, those 360 changes, those create challenges. And to find the final point on the employee part, you are right. And many of our veterans, because they were saying, why are veterans leaving employment when we just opening the doors for them? Say, yes, but there is no leadership. Yes, you're giving them the jobs, but there is no identity. There is no purpose. We don't want that. And that's when we started creating the veteran-friendly employers, because of that reason. But I can talk all day, so I don't want to take this time from. But
I gotta add to that too. I'm getting ready to read Jocko's book, Extreme Ownership. I highly recommend it. Anybody that's getting into business. What I found in business too is when you have business communication breakdown, like if you have communication breakdown on a mission in the military, you're dead.
Oh yes.
Same thing in business. If you have communication breakdown, you have egos getting in the way of making decisions, and one guy doesn't want to talk to the other guy because of egos. Communication is dead, and it kills
the program. Absolutely. No, you're totally right. And one book I would like to recommend to you, and is and you can get it, is in Amazon. Is I was just gonna tell you when totally went blank. That's crazy. I think Laura's making me nervous because I'm thinking.
No, I'm sorry. No. I was reflecting back because you said about this transition and getting out of the military and feeling a little bit maybe lost or not having a passion and mission. Is interesting because Hector, my hubby, just actually a few days ago, he sat down and he just looked really sad and I said, "What's wrong?" He said, "I miss deployments. I miss being out in the field. I miss being gone and doing that. You have no idea how much I miss that. I wish I could still be deployed,
Right.
or go back and forth at least and
Yes.
have that, because that was a mission and it had purpose and he had his, I guess you can say his checklist and things.
Of course.
And I think that's what's missing sometimes when you are transitioning and you have those gaps and you go through all these employment options that sometimes doesn't quite fill that gap.
Oh my gosh, yes. And let him know that he's not alone. We all feel the same way. It just that never, it does. I don't think it goes away. I mean, but what happens is, and one of the things that Laura is going to be doing our first, and you're going to love this. Laura's going to do our first backyard barbecue. We want to bring camaraderie back in a fun way. I know we all want to do business, and that's great. In business, in the name of the game, whatever. But the part that we don't have is bringing together those reunions on base, bringing the family, the kids together, and just chit chat, just a relaxed way, and it's business casual, just relaxed way to get together, because that identity that is no longer there, bringing back the brothers and sisters, brings that back. It just
memories.
Yes, absolutely, and that's
Respects of being with the brotherhood and the sisterhood of the family.
Absolutely. So I just wanted to publicly thank Laura for volunteering to do the first one, and you are more than welcome to do one where you are. Where are you located?
I have a studio actually in Irvine, California. I was just down there a week ago. for a month doing business meetings with all kinds of potential clients. So I'm down there quite a bit. In fact, I'll be heading down there probably in a week and a half or so for more business trips. But I'm actually in my other property up in Southern Oregon right now, Paradise. No fires yet, so it's hot, dry, and hopefully no fires, and we'll have a nice summer and go down the river and enjoy ourselves. But if I can add one thing, people that are thinking about getting into business, one thing I've learned, not all business is good business. And sometimes in business, you get so desperate to make a dollar, you'll take it just to make a dollar. But you have to think of your risk mitigation factors of that business. Is it liable? Is it going to be too much liability to your business? Is it going to be too much risk? And let's say, for example, I had an offer to do a job here in Southern Oregon for a certain industry, but that certain industry is known to be flaky and fickle. And always study the potential client that you may bring on. If they're showing behavior signs of hard to get a hold of and being distant and not returning your call or text messages and blowing you off, if you get in business with that person, the same behaviors you're getting now are going to probably show themselves down the road when money's involved, when they may not pay you. So think about that too when you're doing business. Not all business is good business, if I can say that.
Oh, and you're totally right. You're totally right.
Absolutely.
And that's one thing that we would love to cover in that is starting your own company.
Right.
And we have an incubator program, it's a national incubator program that we'd love to talk to you about, so we can include this program in it.
Sure.
And that would be great. So Laura,
Absolutely.
I'm gonna just basically quiet and let you pick up from here and continue with your session. Thank you for allowing me to come in and say hi and take over your stuff. Sorry.
That's okay. No, I was just going to say, stay tuned. Part 2 of this segment. So, you know, how they do it on TikTok. Like and follow for part 2. So same for you. We don't have any time to acknowledge the comments. Thank you, Lori. I do see Lori and Mark Mero that posted some comments and questions, but thank you so much for you watch the replay, continue to follow, like, and share, as well as pose your questions. We'll come back and answer those for you and make sure that you get connected with the other Mark, with this Mark, our guest, and then as well as our founder and CEO, any other programs that you might have. So thank you so much. We did post it one more time. Jimmy, if we can post back again how we can get a hold of Mark, his Instagram and his podcast links. And last, there you go. You can follow Mark Ledlow over on Facebook, as well as he has his Mark Ledlow Security. And then we also have the Instagram to follow and LinkedIn. So this is the Veterans Radio Show, where we bring you military veterans, spouses, and community leaders while spurring heroism, action, and leadership from those who are making it happen, just like Mark. So thank you so much for watching, and we look forward to your support by subscribing, liking, and sharing with your network. Thank you so much. Have a fabulous weekend. Stay safe.